Welcome to the King Get Real with King Arthur show. And we're continuing our visit at the inn. Remember that Lord Byron said that a New Year's is like a pit stop at an inn where you change horses and whatnot. He didn't, of course, use the term pit stop. So we're at an inn. And remember that you've been traveling for a year and where you made it. And I just heard this week of two people who didn't make it. One, an ex-student. Anyway, we're among friends. You are among people who are cheering you on. And we are all friends. And although we may talk about some hard things, we're friends. And we've been talking about, well, we're having a good steak dinner that Queen Victoria has provided for us. But now we're going to pursue this getting retooled, as it were. We talked about getting retooled physically. And we talked about the fact that a lot of things happen on the way sometimes that bother us physically, germs, viruses, all kinds of things can happen to the human body, but we must love ourselves and treat our body well. Bearhart, more about him later, said the Creator gave us life, and we need to give back to him a life well lived. So we need to take care of the body, and I emphasize exercise. You can exercise sitting in a chair or lying on a bed. I mean exercising off and on all day long, especially as you get older. And the body has to move. Now, the mind needs to exercise too, and I haven't emphasized that enough. You need to keep learning. There's several number of paths of learning. I have chosen literature. You might into cooking. There are all kinds of things you can know about it, or whatever. And all learning paths kind of interfuse one with another. So keep learning. I don't know what your interests are. Maybe you're into psychology or into automotive engineering, whatever. Keep learning. Exercise the mind. But today we're going to talk about the spirit. I like the old division of body, mind, body, spirit, and soul. And we're going to talk about your inner life today. Wow. Wow. There's so much to say about it. But one of the whirling cycle of images and sayings that come to mind is that just as we have an immune system in the body to fight off diseases, so we need to reconstitute our immune system of the spirit. On this long journey of the past year, you have had lots of lemons, or maybe I should put it, you've had a lot of arrows aimed at you, intentionally or otherwise. I was listening to the Art Bell show the other night, and he had a program, if you were God, what would you do? And there were things like, I would bring peace to the world and whatnot. And Near the end, a caller said, I would have it so that whenever you hurt someone else, you would feel the hurt. And Art Bell said, that's the winner. But we've been hurt with all kinds of arrows, intentionally or not intentionally, on the journey. And there's poison likely in our systems. And we must rid ourselves of the poisons with our spiritual or our whatever immune system. And I want to talk about some of the poisons and some of the way to get rid of them. So your spirit will flow like a clear stream. There's poisons in it. There are poisons in it. And here's one big one. Unforgiveness. You know, it's like some creatures that sting you. You ought to be careful pulling out the stinger, because if you don't do it right, that stinger remains in you. So if you have unforgiveness, that person who shot an arrow into you, the arrowhead's still in you. You have to forgive. Because if you don't forgive, it's like drinking poison. Beware, says the scripture, of a bitterness, of a bitter spirit, like a root of bitterness, they call it. You've got to forgive. Well, you know, the scripture says if you don't forgive others, God will not forgive you. And so you may need help, spiritual help, to be able to forgive. If you don't forgive, then the person that shot the arrow has got his or her way. If you forgive, you're immune. Your immune system takes over, and you aren't hurt by it. Nothing can hurt you except your own weakness. Others can't hurt your spirit. Who is it? The old 17th century poet who said, stone walls do not a prison make, or iron bars a cage. Is your spirit free, or is it chained because of bitterness? Another poison in you is self-worship. Now, I believe in loving yourself, but not worshiping yourself. And if you love yourself, you will not worship yourself. Shelley, in the wonderful poetic drama Prometheus Unbound, talks about our selves as a weak, unreliable leader, but a power to follow. Love, that's what he calls the ultimate reality, love. So if you are following your own self-gratification, it leads to destruction. Are you running away from yourself? Are you running away from past guilt? I'll talk about that another day. Are you trying to make yourself happy but for any means, whether other people are hurt or not, with addictions? Oh, how those addictions hurt others. And self-worship is putting yourself above your calling in life, which is to serve others. You know, if you help others, if you shine a light on others, you'll get some reflection from that light. But if you just cater to your own pleasure, willy-nilly, let others go to hell, it's going to lead to destruction. Jesus said, he that seeks to save his life shall lose it. And If you are living for yourself and not for your role in life, you know, there's joy in a cause. You may be called to fight your country's battles, put on a uniform. A noble thing to do. Not being a deserter. That's not the road to happiness. And just seeking your own comfort. And I look at life as the nature and other society is a huge, unbelievable treasure house. And it's up to you to nurture it, the physical world and the societal world, and all around you, enough to keep you very busy. And so self-worship is a very dangerous poison in your system. Well, how do you get rid of these poisons? Well, you have power, and you have power from God's source. There's a scripture verse in the Bible, it's always intrigued me. It says, everybody has been given a secret name. You have a secret name, a destiny, I believe. And if you hold that like a stone, that secret name in your hand, nothing can hurt you, your spirit. And only there are outward things. Now, I mentioned arrows of other people. There's arrows of trouble, financial troubles, and flat tires, as it were, and accidents, and microwaves that don't work, whatever in the world. And so these will happen, and trouble will happen in your life. And what is your attitude towards them? Is it, this is going to defeat my spirit? Or do you feel that if you keep your integrity, nothing can hurt you? I like images, and this summer we were in the Adirondacks, and I drove to Tupper Lake. I was with a guy named Bob Wheeler, who as a boy went to Boy Scout camp in Tupper Lake in the Adirondacks. And when we drove into Tupper Lake, there was huge trees. I noticed one huge fir tree, pine tree. Must have been 40 feet high, beautifully shaped, right by the lake. And knowing what the weather's like in upstate New York, all kinds of storms and bitter cold and whatnot, and it stays put, and it is a thing of beauty and power. And I like that to be an image of yourself. If you are true to that secret name that you have, if you'll take on the role of nourishment. Now, as a teacher, what a joy to try to share knowledge with students and help them. Incredible joy. Much more than just sitting in a room and reading to yourself. There's joy in service. And are you letting events, troubles, ruin your spirit? Can you keep this joy? Wordsworth talks about a principle of the connection between life and joy. Do you have that connection? That connection between life and joy? Or is it muddied by self-love, self-worship? Self-love is good. Self-worship or resentment. And what about things in the past, holding on to old grudges. I'm guilty, I'm guilty. I'm at this end too, you know. And there are old hurts and old defeats that may haunt you. And I don't know for sure how to let them go. Maybe you can give me advice on that subject. Not to be bound by them. Charles Wesley has a hymn, I like one phrase. He breaks the power of canceled sin and sets the prisoner free. Are you under past defeats and past guilt and past resentment? And you think you've got to hold on to them? When you have resentments and hatreds, you're the one who drinks the poison. So I want you to think of that clear stream that you're going to kind of renew yourself this month. You have the power to do it with the help from your Creator. You have the power. And you will bring life and joy to others. And when you bring life and joy to others, it will bring immeasurable joy to you. So, when we connect this to the metaphor of the carriage, we'll talk about the inside of the carriage. These pollutants, maybe will dirty up the rearview mirror and the windshield, especially when it rains. And there are all kinds of old gum wrappers and dirt in the car that are making the trip unpleasant. And we need to clean the thing out. And all the dirt and accumulation. I rode in a taxi last year, one that I could hardly bear it. I was gagging. The odor was awful. What kind of odors in this carriage that we're using as a metaphor? You can't drive if you're uncomfortable. If your spirit is bothered, if the carriage is dirty and the windshield is covered with dirt and whatever, it's time to renew your spirit. And you can do it. Well, more later. Thanks for listening.